Mangwanani Mwalelepo Vugenjani Kwas Vanave Africa. Welcome to Africa Good Morning, the news and current affairs show bringing you everything you need to know happening in the SADC region and beyond. As usual, you are joined by Anna Raizakweyo and Ashwin Berry.
Today we are so excited because it's a Friday where we get to celebrate our Queen Mothers. Today is Gorgeous Grandma Day. This is a time of the year in which we can celebrate the grannies in our lives. Everybody thinks their grandmother is gorgeous, so what could be better than an entire day devoted to acknowledging that fact? Mother's Day and Father's Day are well-known celebrations, so Gorgeous Grandma is a natural progression. And here is more on Queen Mother's Day. Welcome back to Africa Good Morning, and here are the news making headlines. Vaccine inequity undermining global economic recovery. COVID-19 vaccine inequity will have a lasting and profound impact on socio-economic recovery in low and middle-income countries without urgent action to boost supply and assure equitable access of every country, including through the dose sharing, according to new data released today by the United Nations Development Programme, the World Health Organization, and the University of Oxford. An acceleration in scaling up manufacturing and sharing enough vaccine doses with low-income countries could have added 38 billion to their GDP forecast for 2021 if they had a similar vaccination rate as high-income countries. In some low- and middle-income countries, less than 1% of the population is vaccinated. This is contributing to a two-track recovery for vaccine inequity. Vaccine inequity is the world's biggest obstacle to ending this pandemic and recovering from COVID-19, said Dr. Tedros Ghebreyesus, who is the Director General of the World Health Organization. Economically, epidemiologically, and morally, it is in all countries' best interest to use the latest available data to make life-saving vaccine available to all.
All right, in our second story, Nigeria cracks down on separatists as security issues mount in the north. The arrest of another separatist activist wanted by Nigeria sends a clear message that President Buhari won't tolerate secessionist aspirations. But critics say there's much more at play than just arresting figureheads. Activist Sunday Adeyemo, known popularly in Nigeria as Sunday Iboho, was arrested in neighboring Benin on Monday evening. According to media reports, he was about to take a flight to Germany at the time. Namdi Kanu, the 53-year-old leader of the outlawed indigenous people of Biafra group, which has been campaigning for the southeast of the country to secede, has been arrested in an undisclosed location outside of Nigeria last month and returned to the country to face trial, having spent 4 years on the run. The fact that these men were arrested is the clearest testament that indeed Buhari and his government will go to any length to ensure that this kind of dissidents, this kind of secessionist activities are not going to be tolerated.
In our next story, many flee ongoing fighting in Ethiopia's Afar region. Heavy fighting in Ethiopia's Afar region has continued for the last 4 days, causing thousands of people to flee their homes, report says. More than 8 months of conflict between pro-government forces and fighters loyal to the Tigray People's Liberation Front recently spread to Afar. A TPLF spokesperson has denied targeting civilians in Afar. The Ethiopian military says it has been successful against the rebels there. It's impossible to independently verify these reports. On Sunday, a UN humanitarian convoy was attacked in the same region, further undermining efforts to reach hundreds of thousands of people at risk of famine in Tigray.
In our next story, COVID-19 origins. China rejects WHO proposal to return to Wuhan. China has rejected a proposal from the World Health Organization that the expert team investigating the origins of COVID-19 should return to the sites in China where the coronavirus first emerged, saying researchers should instead make a priority of the very likely possibility that the virus originated in animals and expand their work to other countries around the world. In a closed-door meeting this week, WHO Chief Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus proposed the second stage of the agency's investigation into the origins of coronavirus should include further studies in China, as well as laboratory audits. Liang Wanian, who leads the Chinese scientists in the WHO team and also spoke to the media, also dismissed questions over China's transparency, saying it was not possible to share the raw data from the earliest patients publicly or allow it to be copied because of privacy concerns. He stressed the need to focus on animal-to-human transmission and look not only at bats, but other species including pangolins, mink and ferrets. He also stressed that the place where the first cases were detected might not be where the disease had actually originated, and reeled off a number of countries and cities where coronavirus traces had allegedly been found in patients or in wastewater at around the same time as the illness was being reported in Wuhan.
In our next story, South Africa lets jailed ex-President Zuma attend his brother's funeral. South Africa's jailed former President Jacob Zuma has been granted compassionate leave for 1 day to attend the funeral of his younger brother, prison authorities said. Zuma, who's 79, was sentenced to 15 months in prison for contempt of court last month after snubbing fraud investigators probing his presidency from 2009 until 2018. He has been jailed at the Earls prison since handing himself over to authorities in the early hours of 8 July. The prison is close to his rural home, Kandla, in KwaZulu-Natal province, where funeral proceedings of Zuma's brother Michael are expected to be held on Thursday. As a short-term, low-risk classified inmate, Master Zuma's application for compassionate leave was processed and approved, the Department of Correctional Service said in a statement, adding that while outside prison, Zuma was not required to wear the offender's uniform. Zuma's brother died at the age of 77 after a long illness, according to local media.
All right, in our next story, South African firm to produce BioNTech Pfizer vaccine. The BioVac Institute reached a deal with Pfizer to prepare and deliver vaccine doses for the continent. It comes amid an increase of cases in Africa, where just 2% of the population has received a first dose. A South African vaccine company will begin producing the BioNTech Pfizer vaccine, becoming the first facility producing the shot in Africa. The BioVac Institute, based in Cape Town, will manufacture the vaccine for distribution across the continent in an effort to address Africa's need for more vaccine doses as infections rise. Under the agreement, the company will complete the last step in manufacturing process known as fill and finish. Aspen Pharmacare's factory in the former Port Elizabeth, now known as Gqeberha, is already making the J&J vaccine in the same fill and finish process and has the capacity to produce more than 200 million doses each year.
In our next story, drowning is the lead cause of accidental death. In 2019, an estimated 236,000 people died from drowning, making drowning a major public health problem worldwide. In 2019, injuries accounted for almost 8% of total global mortality. Drowning is the third leading cause of unintentional injury death, accounting for 7% of all injury-related deaths. The global burden of death from drowning is felt in all economies and regions. However, low and middle income countries account for over 90% of unintentional drowning deaths. The global report on drowning is the first World Health Organization report dedicated exclusively to drowning, in a high preventable public health challenge that has never been targeted by global strategic prevention effort. The World Drowning Prevention Day is held annually on the 25th of July.
All right, we swing back to South Africa as former DJ in court for inciting South Africa unrest. A well-known former radio DJ in South Africa has been denied bail after appearing in court on charges of inciting violence that followed the jailing of ex-President Jacob Zuma. In a video on social media, Ngizwe Mchunu, a staunch supporter of Mr. Zuma, called for the former president to be released. Mr. Mchunu has denied intending to create unrest. Prosecutors say he is one of about a dozen key instigators of the violence that left more than 200 people dead and thousands of businesses looted. Meanwhile, South Africa's transport minister has denied the looting was a result of failures by the government to address economic problems. In an interview with BBC Hard Talk, Fikile Mbalula described the disturbances as a well-orchestrated attempted coup.
In our next story, passengers drown after Mozambican boat capsizes. An overloaded boat carrying food aid for northern Mozambique has capsized, killing at least 12 people. It was traveling between the coastal city of Pemba and the island of Ibo of Cabo Delgado province, where an Islamist militant insurgency over the last 4 years has left thousands dead. More than 30,000 people are estimated to have fled the mainland for refuge on small Indian Ocean island. Local marine official Avelino told reporters the boat had been carrying 26 people and 4 tons of aid from the UN World Food Programme when it sank on Thursday. He urged boat owners to comply with safety regulations.
All right, now in the last of our top stories, NASA rover preparing to take first Mars rock samples. The Perseverance Mars rover is preparing to collect its first rock sample from the site of an ancient lake bed as its mission to search for signs of past life begins in earnest, NASA said on Wednesday. The milestone is expected to take place within 2 weeks in a scientifically interesting region of the Jezero crater called the Cratered Floor Fractured Rough. Perseverance landed on the red planet on February 18 and over the summer moved about a kilometer to the south of its landing site, project scientist Ken Farley told reporters. The team believes the crater was once home to an ancient lake that filled and drew down multiple times, potentially creating the conditions necessary for life. Each rock Perseverance analyzes will have an untouched geologic twin, which the rover will scoop up, seal, and store under its belly. Eventually, NASA is planning a return mission with the European Space Agency to collect the stored samples and return them for lab analysis on Earth sometime in the 2030s. Only then will scientists be able to say with greater confidence whether they truly found signs of ancient life forms. Very interesting. Looking far deep into the past, science seems to keep doing. It is necessary. But here on Africa Good Morning, we keep you informed on the present, and we're going to make sure that you get all the news you need right after the break.
Welcome back to Africa. Good morning. Namibia's COVID community warriors yesterday handed out 100 donated packs containing basic foodstuff and vitamins and some other basic products such as soap, cream, etc. at the Caps farm just outside Windhoek. Let's take a look at that.
We chose the Brug because it's an outlying area. I think it's a forgotten place of people. People drive past, but don't, at the end of the day, don't really realize what is going on. All of you that have contributed to this effort now will see the smiles on the faces and where everything is going to. It's actually heart-aching to see in what conditions people are living through this virus tragedy without anything, no support, no medical, not anything.
Soup to make pap and rice we can eat with, and some immune boosters. Like this is very important. This is the most important one. Like I'm obsessed. Like I love it. Some lotions, and some painkillers. Like good, very good. Look, I even drank one already with some milk. I love it. So we want to say thanks a lot. We very appreciate it. And we're gonna love to see you guys again. We really appreciate it.
This food come like as a relief. So most of the people, they cannot afford tablets, medicine, everything. So this one is a relief for us. We are facing a challenge as a community because out of 100 people, only 20% of people are working. So the other 80% are unemployed. Like you see, most of the people are just here zularing everything. So we are glad and we are also grateful that we get these food parcels. Medicines, it's a challenge. If we have precautions, we can also fight against COVID. Because when we call the ambulance, if someone is sick, they took long. That's what even happened the other weekend. That the old man died because due to a lack of ambulance.
We loaded about nearly 100 parcels today. People are battling out there. You could see it was very, very appreciated by the people. So it makes us happy and so forth. And, I think job well done. But the heartache is here. You can see the heartache and the despair. And yeah, it's a bit emotional for me. We've distributed, I think in the months, close to about, I would say just on or just over 500 food parcels initially. It's also, what we've done is that's not counting in the amount of food that we've delivered, pre-cooked meals and whatever the case is that we've delivered to health workers. I just know that it's been amazing what the community has basically given. Right, so we started the Warriors approximately, I think it's just over a month ago. We started off by seeing what we can do and what reach do we have. So frontline workers obviously came in first. This was your hospitals and the frontline workers there. And then we went over to clinics, testing facilities, and then from there we thought, what else can we do? So then we started to receive so much stuff that we decided now it's time to give to the community, because the community, if they are unfed and unhealthy, they are your first people that are so vulnerable. And we tend to forget it, that people like this don't even have access to hospitals, to these type of things. So this is where we are. The whole, let's call it the organization, is basically developing into the current needs.
Next up, Esther Kamati gives us a briefing on the COVID-19 situation in the GAM settlement, where cases have rapidly increased over the past couple of weeks. The settlement, which is part of the Grootfontein Health District, is under pressure for mortuary space and is faced with a sluggish testing process as results take up to 14 days to be finished. Here's that report.
A very good morning and thank you for joining us on Africa Good Morning. My name is Esther Kamati and today we have another Otjolanjuba regional update. Today we are specifically looking at the Tsunkwe constituency where a settlement known as GAM is found. Now GAM has become an increasing concern and of course that is healthcare, and specifically when it comes to the COVID-19 pandemic, with cases rapidly increasing and not to mention the increased number of deaths. Now this has prompted the regional governor, Honorable James Reekwa, to intervene and this week he paid a visit to the settlement, having a meeting with the traditional authority as well as the Tsunkwe constituency councillor. So some of the issues that came out during this consultation were, of course, the pressure exerted on the healthcare system, which at the time only had one nurse caring for all the patients which would visit the healthcare center. Since then, 2 additional nurses had been sent to, of course, assist the understaffed clinic. And another issue which came about was the pressure on the mortuary. Now, GAM only has one mortuary which has a capacity of 3 bodies. So in an instance where over 3 deaths have been recorded, this would leave the family of the deceased to go about finding mortuary space in nearby settlements such as the Mangeti Dune, the Tsunkwe Health Center, and even as far as Grootfontein, which is over 200 kilometers away. And this leaves, of course, the bereaved family to take care of all these transport costs, and at the same time poses a risk as the family is directly in contact with the COVID-19 corpse. Another issue that came about during this consultation was the lack of an isolation facility in the GAM settlement. So a lot of the positive cases were often treated at home, and it seems did not take the COVID-19 pandemic as seriously as it should be, as many people are simply in their households going about business as normal, and in the process infecting not only their relatives but spreading the COVID-19 virus, of course, to other members of the community. So since the visitation of the regional governor along with the local leadership in GAM settlement, they've identified, and which was donated to the GAM combined school, it's never been used, and have identified this hostel building as a potential isolation facility. Now this facility can accommodate up to over 70 beds, and the local leadership is in the process of course, revamping this facility into an up-to-standard isolation facility to help prevent the spread of the COVID-19 pandemic. Another issue has been the slow process in the testing of potential COVID-19 cases, with the results taking up to 2 weeks to get back to the community members, as these results often have to be sent all the way to Grootfontein to be tested, and the results would only be available after at least 14 days, which gives a period of potential infection, as these people are unaware of their results, and during the waiting period go about their lives as they normally would. Now, during this consultation, the regional governor has, of course, engaged the traditional authority, other local leadership, to continue to inform the inhabitants of the settlement about the dangers of the COVID-19, as well as how they can protect themselves. The regional governor also had the following to say.
Mortuaries are saturated, obviously they are very full, no one can debate that, and that is due to the increase in number of infections, which eventually results in an increase in number of deaths. As a region, we have been responsive and trying our level best. As we are talking today, we managed to get a cooler container that is in Grootfontein with a capacity of 40 to 50 bodies. The same cooler container is also in Okahanja with the same capacity. And these are all being used as spillovers. Whenever that you find that your mortuary is full, we are able to transport bodies to that side. In the Chumkwe constituency where we are, the challenge that you have is that this is not a health district on its own. It's still being supplied from Grootfontein. And that is what is making it a challenge, because Grootfontein is around 400 kilometers from here. You come in Chumkwe, the mortuary that is in Chumkwe is before independent and it's not working, and we have been talking very strongly, and the ministry is making good progress to make sure that we rectify that. The other mortuary that we have in the area is at Mangeti, and it's only having one cabinet. One cabinet has 3 chambers. The one in Gam is having one cabinet is having 3 chambers. Automatically, when you have an extra body, 3 plus 1, automatically your mortuaries are full and you have to improvise. Like in Gam here, the nearest mortuary that they are using is the one of ASA block, which is in another region as an alternative. But again, on top of it all, that's why we are coming up with a response mechanism that let's reduce the number of deaths by putting up the response mechanism that will eventually ensure that we do not have an increase in deaths.
We certainly hope that every community can get the assistance it needs as the entire world battles this global pandemic. Next up is something that we might want to know before we head outside of our doors: the weather. Here's the forecast.
Animate journalist Monique Adams asked Carmen Stenger about her experience being vaccinated. As Carmen explained, there is nothing to be afraid of. And remember, we can only get back to some kind of normality when we as a country achieve herd immunity. In other words, when more than 60% of us are fully immunized. Let's take a look.
Carmen, as you guys watched yesterday, that she got her second dose. So this is just a follow-up. Carmen, how are you feeling this morning?
I'm good. I'm feeling good.
So from your first dose you had till your second one, what difference is there? Did you have any side effects?
After the first dose, I must say I had a little bit of a headache. I went Friday, so it was the Friday, the Saturday, Sunday. I had a little bit of a headache, and I was quite tired. But today, I mean, I went for my second dose yesterday. I'm feeling good. Nothing, no headache, no tiredness. My arm isn't sore, so no side effects. All good. Very, very, very happy to be fully vaccinated.
So you had a good night's rest.
I slept like a baby. When my alarm clock went off this morning, I was sad because I slept very well. I think I must say yesterday after I got my vaccination, it felt like a weight fell off me. I felt fully vaccinated. I feel safe. I feel good about it. Ek is trots op myself. Kom ons gooi Afrikaans. Ek is trots. I'm proud of myself. Yes.
So how would you say was the process at NG Kerk? Was it, easy peasy?
Well, we did sit quite a long time. I think because it was the first day, I think they are still getting the layout of things, but it was comfortable. I mean, there was seating, they made extra shade for us, everyone was very helpful. So no, it was good. It was, it's a nice place to get vaccinated. Like I said, there's seating, there's shade, everyone is very friendly. So it was a bit long, the process was a bit long, but I mean, we all understand that we have to stand in queues. There is a process of it, but I can't really complain. Everyone was very helpful and very nice and friendly. So
That's great, Carmen. Thank you so much for showing us your journey and allowing us, to document that. Well, guys, there we have it. Carmen, fully vaccinated. Guys, please do make sure that you get your dose, your second dose or your first dose. Go and get vaccinated, guys.
Get vaccinated, please.
Alright, sorry. Okay.
Shops.
Well, guys, we're joined here by Anishka. She got her second dose yesterday. So, Anishka, how are you feeling this morning?
I'm good. I'm still waiting for the, but no, nothing happened yet.
So, during the night, you slept like a baby?
Yeah, I was waiting for, maybe superpowers or something. Nothing happened.
So, from your first dose to your second, is there any, the first dose you got, did you get, side effects?
I just had, the next day, I had a sore body and a slight headache. But then afterwards, after later in the day, it felt like it was gone again. So, and now, nothing.
Well, she is fully vaccinated, guys. You're probably glad that that's now out of the way.
It's done and dusted. I hate needles, but I am not that selfish not to get vaccinated.
Yeah.
So even though I hate needles, I still did it. So, yeah.
So how would you say was the help at NG Kerk yesterday?
It was actually really nice. They streamlined it. There was distance with people who sat next to each other. They quickly streamlined it and everything. Quickly went to go get the first, making sure your blood pressure and everything's fine. Then you went to go sit in the next row for the nurse. And then done and dusted.
There you have it, guys. She is fully vaccinated. So, guys, please be a responsible human being and get your vaccine. Well, thank you, Anushka, for allowing us to document your journey.
Yeah, well, it's a pleasure. And can I just say, don't be selfish. We know we're full of selfish people, but get vaccinated.
Get vaccinated.
Well, together we can stop COVID-19. We're fully vaccinated, mic drop.
Welcome back to Africa. Good morning at this point and time. It's time for us to jump straight into your economic news stories for the day. And in the first story, rising oil prices cast shadow over global economic recovery. Global oil demand is rising following an accelerated vaccination campaign and an economic recovery pushing oil prices to 2.5-year highs amid an output deficit. Although an agreement for more output reached among the Organization of the Petroleum Exporting Countries and its allies is expected to calm rising oil prices, concerns for a further climb in the coming months or longer remain, which would dampen a global recovery from the COVID-19 pandemic. OPEC, together with non-OPEC countries known as OPEC Plus, agreed to boost oil production by 400,000 barrels per day each month from August until December this year as demand increases. Now, even though some countries have lifted almost all restrictions, fresh constraints on economic activity are still possible if Delta becomes more rampant. Meanwhile, the agency said that crude oil balances are expected to be especially tight and warned that rising oil prices could put a drag on the economic recovery, particularly in emerging and developing countries.
In our next story, RBZ incentives drive gold deliveries, and this is in Zimbabwe. The country's gold output last month increased by 75% to 2.924 tons from 1.668 tons in May on the back of incentive availed by the Reserve Bank of Zimbabwe. Latest statistic released by Fidelity Printer and Refiner, which is the country's sole gold buyer, indicate that last month's output was 107% above 1.409 tons achieved in June 2020. For the 6 months period to June, small-scale miners and primary producers' output was 9.954 tons compared to 10.611 tons during the corresponding period last year. Zimbabwe Miners Federation Chief Executive Officer Mr. Wellington Takavarasha, whose organization represents the interest of small-scale miners, said the increase may be attributed to the incentives of Reserve Bank through FPR has put in place and also some improvements in cash flow. Thus, their price was now commensurate with the international marketplace rather.
All right, now the last of our economic news stories comes from South Africa as Eskom warns of load shedding at short notice due to cold weather demand. Eskom says it could be forced to introduce load shedding at short notice due to capacity losses and the cold weather. The embattled power utility said that its systems are severely constrained and it expects to come under further pressure in the evening as demand increases. Eskom would therefore like to appeal to the public to reduce the usage of electricity in order to help ease the pressure on the system between 1600 hours and 2100 hours. In recent months, PwC said that its baseline scenario included an assumption that the economy will face a similar volume of load shedding hours this year compared to 2020. PwC estimates that load shedding will reduce real GDP growth by 2.3 percentage points in 2021. This could cost the country 275,000 in potential jobs. In other words, if South Africa did not experience load shedding, real GDP growth could have been 4.6% under our baseline scenario, with up to 565,000 jobs recovered. All right. Those have been our economic news stories. Next up, it's that thing that keeps you informed when you're not quite sure what your money is worth, the economic indicators.
After the ad will be a stinger.
If you're feeling how I'm feeling and you know I won't stop, all we gotta do is take our love to the top. If I got it and you want it and you'll never let it drop, all we gotta do is take our love to the top. I will ride for you, baby, even die for you. When I'm loving you, but my heart don't stop.
Hello and welcome to our very first installment of our daily Olympic Games coverage, where we're going to be letting you know everything that's happening with the African individuals and of course the teams, and bringing you all the necessary results. We're also going to be bringing you behind scenes stories of interest. But first up, let's talk about the opening ceremony. The Tokyo Olympics officially get underway later today with the opening ceremonies, the once every 2 years display of pomp, circumstance, and parades, oath-taking, flame lighting, and various cultural oddities. While the International Olympic Committee sets a pretty strict format for these types of events, a few things would differentiate this year's proceedings in Tokyo. Most conspicuously, that they will take place in an empty stadium because of the coronavirus pandemic, and will begin 3 years after the previous opening ceremonies at the 2018 Pyeongchang Winter Games. The opening ceremony will take place at 8 o'clock Japanese time, which is 1 o'clock Namibian time. Make sure you don't miss it. Don't try and get leave for the second half of the day, okay? Just catch up if you need to. But various competitions already started on Wednesday. Women's football and softball kicked off proceedings on Wednesday, and men's football, baseball, and shooting started yesterday, while most other sports will start today. Here are some of the women's football results from Wednesday. Brazil beat China 5-0. Sweden beat USA 3-0. Japan and Canada drew 1-1. Netherlands beat Zambia 10-3. And some of yesterday's men's football results from yesterday. Japan beat South Africa 1-0. Australia beat Argentina 2-0. And Brazil beat Germany 4-2. Very interesting. And earlier today, Namibia's Mike Degman progressed to the quarterfinals of the 2-kilometer single rowing event. The top 3 in each heat will qualify without having to take part in the repechage rounds. As we continue with our Olympic Games coverage. Now, as a young boy, one of the wonderful games I used to enjoy on PlayStation, I know, was called Tony Hawk's. It was about skateboarding. And that's what we are talking about, because skateboarding legend Tony Hawk enjoyed a short session in the Tokyo Olympic Skate Park on Thursday, ahead of the sport's debut at the Games. Skateboarding is one of 4 sports set to feature for the first time at the 2020 Olympics, alongside karate, sport climbing, and surfing. As a kid, that was mostly lambasted for my interest in skateboarding. I never imagined it would be part of the Olympic Games, the 10-time X Games champion said. It's surreal to now be in Tokyo, bearing witness to this milestone in the most unprecedented circumstances. I know in the end, it will help to grow skateboarding's profile internationally, exposing our passion to an audience that has never seen it before or simply refused to embrace it. I predict it will be one of the highlights from all of the Olympic Games coverage this year, he added. The skateboarding gets underway with the men's street competition on Sunday. I'm certainly expecting.
I'm so excited.
Wow, yeah. All right, let's swing back to women's football. Although Zambia's Copper Queens were totally outplayed by Netherlands in their opening match and lost the match by 10-3, their captain Brenda Banda scored a hat-trick of her own. In other words, all 3 of Zambia's goals. Let's have a look at them.
Banda looking to get on the end of this one. The goalkeeper has missed it, and Banda with a chance, and she's found the net. And Zambia have a goal back on 19 minutes. And it's the captain, Barbara Banda, after a mistake by Sari van Beenendaal.
Well, the Dutch defence give you a chance.
Now it's Zambia who come looking for another consolation. Here's Banda, a chance for her second of the game. She's forced wide, but she's found the net. Barbara Banda, inside the last 10 minutes, has scored a second goal for Zambia. And although they may be well out of this game, for Barbara Banda to score a brace is a nice return for her. Now here she comes again, looking for a hat-trick. It's a real chance of a hat-trick, and it's there. 2 goals in the space of a few seconds for Zambia. And Barbara Banda completes her hat-trick. I don't know who's going to get the match ball now after Miedema has scored 4 earlier on.
Brenda Banda is the true personification of Captain Fantastic. And over here, we're going to make sure we bring you these exact updates in our Olympic Games segment every single weekday here on Africa Good Morning. Now, we do need to find out everything else happening in the world of sport. And there's one man who is informed and ready to make sure that you get the dose of news that you need with regards to the sporting world. His name is Mr. Ari Hogad. Good morning, Ari. How are you?
Yes, very good morning, Ashwin. Great to talk some sport. Great to see the Olympics starting, and great to see all those quality goals from Brenda Banda. That's going to see a lot more of her.
Absolutely. It's truly exciting times to be living in, Ari. Do take your sports news stories away.
Yes, there's some cricket and rugby and golf I can talk about. Cricket, it's most of the cricket-playing countries are starting to play T20 cricket mostly. There's a World Cup coming up later this year. That World Cup was meant to be in India, but it was moved to the UAE, United Arab Emirates, and that will be on the 17th of October. That will kick off, or the first ball will be bowled then. Also, the IPL in India that was postponed is also going to be played in the UAE. Also at the same venue leading up to the World Cup cricket. So there's going to be, for some players, like 3 months of intense cricket at the same venue for a long time. So, but T20 cricket, that's what the countries are focusing on at the moment. Close to home here for us in Southern Africa, in Harare, in Zimbabwe, it's Zimbabwe that hosts Bangladesh. And yesterday in the first T20, it was Zimbabwe batting first, made 152. And then it was an easy chase for Bangladesh. They made the runs 153 for the loss of only 2 wickets with 7 balls remaining. So it's the first game that Bangladesh won, and that is the first of 3 in Harare. And then also the South African Protea cricket team, they are currently touring in the United Kingdom. They're playing against Ireland. Yesterday, also a T20 game. South Africa batted first. They were in trouble at one stage, 80 or 58 for the loss of 5 wickets. But then David Miller came to the rescue. He made 75 runs off just 44 balls. South Africa ended up with 159 for the loss of 7 wickets. And Ireland only made 117 in their chase. So a comfortable win of 42 runs for the Proteas, and they lead the series now by 2-0. The next game will be tomorrow between the Ireland and the Proteas. And then there was one other game that was meant to be played yesterday. Currently, Australia, they're playing a series in the West Indies, in Barbados, but that game was postponed yesterday at late notice because there was a positive COVID test in the West Indian team, and it was not a playing member, it was a non-playing member, but the game was postponed. I'm not sure to when or what date it was postponed to. But let's go on to some rugby news. All here in Cape Town, the weather, as you can see, is brilliant today. It's a nice day. Tomorrow is going to be a very nice day as well. It's a bit chilly, but 20 degrees tomorrow, and that is important because it's rugby time. Normally in Cape Town, when there's rugby test, it's raining a little bit. But tomorrow it is a big day. It is the British and Irish Lions. They play the first test against the Springboks. Only happens once in 12 years in South African rugby. So that's a big tournament. Again, a pity that there can't be any spectators at the ground. But we'll make the best of it. I personally miss going to the field early and having a braai and a barbecue next to the stadium, and going into the stadium after that. But that is Siya Kolisi. He's the inspiring captain, of course, the 2019 World Cup winning captain of South Africa. He was out with COVID-19 as well. He haven't played much rugby at the moment, but he's back leading the team in the test tomorrow. And also on the British and Irish Lions side, it is Alan Wynne-Jones that was injured. That is Alan Wynne-Jones with the Lion mascot. He got injured in a game leading up to the tour against Japan. He dislocated his shoulder. But maybe if you're 35, 36 years old, you recover quickly. But he's back on tour. He played a few minutes against the Stormers, and he's the inspirational captain for the Lions as well. So both captains, inspirational. They're going to be on the field, but they haven't played much rugby. So it will be interesting to see that matchup. That kickoff is 6 p.m. Southern African time tomorrow afternoon. And the referee for the game is Nick Berry of Australia. And then other news is just quickly that all 3 of the tests will now be played in Cape Town because of COVID-19 regulations. So they have Hubble here, the Springboks in Cape Town, and the Lions, actually, they have a base in Hermanus, about 100 kilometers away from Cape Town. And let's finish off with some golf news. It is time for the senior players to play the British Open. We just had the British Open for the, let's say, the younger players. So it's the British Open senior tournament that's been played at the Sunningdale. That is the old course, Sunningdale, in the United Kingdom. And Darren Clark of the United Kingdom of England, he's the leader at the moment. He's on 5 under par is his score. Followed, or the same score is the Southern African James Kingston, also 5 under par after the first round. And then Bernhard Langer from Germany is -4. And the legendary Ernie Els of South Africa, he's tied for 6. He is at 3 under par. Other Southern African interest, maybe a little bit lower down at tied 66, is David Frost on 2 Over Park. So that's the sports news real quick, and hopefully it will be a great sporting weekend for everyone. Ernie else there in picture, maybe he can win the British Open Senior Tournament. Have a great sporting weekend and enjoy all the Olympics. We talk again on Monday. Bye-bye.
Cheers, Ari. Hey, I've been a golf fan long enough to know that I can't bet against the big easy. Let's see what Ernie else does with that. This is still Africa Good Morning. We'll be back with your headlines after the break. Throughout the week and today, Africa Good Morning has been streaming live from 7 a.m., bringing you the news and current events happening in the SADC region and beyond. But if you missed today's top stories by any chance at the top of the hour, that's okay. Your headlines are up next. Vaccine iniquity undermining global economic recovery. Nigeria cracks down on separatists as security issues mount in the north. Many flee ongoing fighting in Ethiopia's Afar region. COVID-19 origins. China rejects WHO proposal to return to Wuhan. Rising oil prices cast shadow over global economic recovery. And in sport, Olympic Games coverage right here on Africa Good Morning.
Thank you very much for joining us on this Friday edition of Africa Good Morning. We will be back again on your screen next week, Monday. But for now, we do welcome your remarks regarding our show. You can email them to us. Our email is agm_2centsworth@nmh.com.na. Alternatively, we are on Facebook and Twitter. It's at Africa Good Morning. And on that note, it's all our love and all our light. Please remember, we can all beat COVID-19 together. The right thing to do is to take care of humanity.
That's right, and the Shona say, Chikuru Kufema, the most important thing to do is to breathe. See you Monday.